Hi there, I'm Luma. Welcome to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm recording this video for you here today on February 23rd, 2025. I'm still here on Vancouver Island. My backdrop has changed. So much has changed. Really? My goodness, so much has changed. So how can we navigate? How can we understand where we are right now? Okay, so we really have to drop a lot of old concepts, reference points, and anchors to understand where we are right now. So try this on. We're in deep time, mythical, magical, mystical time. Yeah. What's opening up, understanding our lives in a larger mythology, understanding our soul's evolution, movements, unfoldments, and unfurlments as mystical in movement, mystical movements, yeah? Understanding our expression, ourselves as humans, as magical, yeah? Really embracing the magical nature of life here on Earth and here in this part of the universe. Extraordinarily magical. Yeah. So really changing up frames of reference here. Yeah, we're going through magnificent shifts, okay? So I hope you have been noticing in the past week or so a new quality of lightness of being at times. Maybe not always, but moments of buoyancy. It's like you're a bubble and you just poof, popped up into a lighter dimension of existence, a lighter dimension of life. So again, there can be a lot of turbulence, yeah? Like moving through very turbulent, turbid water, and we can be pulled down and being floated around and tossed and turned with a lot of debris, a lot of old residues. So much is breaking down. We're really working deeply in the water elements right now. I'm very attuned to the water element right now. We've had torrential rains for the past week. It's like a river falling out of the sky here yesterday. And I know in other parts of Canada, it's like tons of snow, right? Tons and tons and tons of snow, lots and lots of liquid and crystals in different forms. Yeah, a lot of new information coming through the water element. Okay. So you may be experiencing also being tossed and like you're in a river that's overflowing again. There's all kinds of branches and trees and debris and stuff and houses and cars and governmental structures and all kinds of stuff floating around in there. You can get tossed and turned, right? And then you're going to pop up and feel this lightness like a bubble. Okay, so how to navigate through this? Stay in your bubble, right? I call it your Buddha bubble, your floating Buddha bubble. Where you're in the bubble. So you can move around, right, in every direction, very multidimensional. You can look out, not just at one window, but you can look out through thousands and thousands and thousands of windows. It's quite overwhelming at the moment, right? If you're not used to experiencing life in that way, it can be, holy shit, what the hell's going on here, right? So staying centered in your bubble. You're going to get moved and carried on these large currents that are sweeping through right now. You stay in a bubble and you float, right? You're going to float. You're going to float on these surges and tidal movements that are, very uplifting. They're really carrying us up. And then we might be going down to the super deep, dark places as well. And things are moving and clearing out. And then poof, we're popping back up again, right? So this quality of buoyancy is very key to stay attuned with that buoyancy. Even if you feel like you're being a beach ball that's being pushed down under the water, you're going to pop back up again. You are going to pop back up again. So stay with these very powerful and quick movements here, okay? So it may have been, if you go into those deep, dark places, you might have stayed there for days, for months, for years. My goodness, yeah. before you might see the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's very dynamic right now, right? Very, very dynamic, right? And so the important, again, to keep your equilibrium inside your bubble. What am I talking about? Your energy field, yeah? Again, this is where you put your spiritual mastery to practice here, right? This isn't something you have to learn. This is something that is you are remembering. Memory is opening up. We know there's memory contained in water, in the crystalline structure of water. Yeah, there's tons of memory coming back to us. Yeah, there's not a lot of obstructions. Veils are being lifted, washed, cleansed, cleared. There's a more direct communication that we have with our soul levels, with our higher self levels, with our spirit levels, with our inner guidance systems. Yeah? Whew. All right. So that lightness, a little more magic, things can change rather quickly in a very beautiful and surprising way also too. Yeah? Alrighty. Let's take a little pause here. So I want to share with you an experience I had this week. There were two quite big earthquakes here on the coast near Vancouver Island, where I live. They were over on the Sunshine Coast. And that morning, I was feeling tremendous pressure in my system. I felt this pressure. And I couldn't I just had to move really quickly. I had to get out of the house and go for a vigorous walk and tune into the largest trees nearby. So I went to the large cottonwoods, the large Douglas fir trees, like the big mother trees in the area here where I'm staying right now, and deeply ground. So this is when I went to the trees. Trees are kind of like elevators that would take me up and down through different layers of history of the earth. So I'm talking about deep time, mystical, magical, mythical time, yeah, going through the deep, deep layers of story and history of the earth, right? Okay, so come with me here. Come on down in through some of these layers that have just been closed, compressed, compacted with other more surface layers of understanding of history, how science looks at the history of the earth body, yeah. And come with me here into mystical time. What I was shown were these huge creatures, aquatic creatures. They were like larger than humpback whales, yeah? Large, like aquatic dragon-like beings, like huge, undulating, flowing bodies, yeah? That were deep in like the deep mystical oceanic time, yeah? Moving and flowing. This is part of the deep earth history. These giant bodies, if you will, yeah, flowing and moving. And then there's these rolls and undulations. Earth is very malleable, very shiftable, yeah, very plastic. So rolling, undulating, and that these large aquatic bodies, these large like water dragons almost, like would be undulated and rolled up then and into the air element, onto the earth, as earth rolls up out of the water and becomes air into the air. It becomes land, yeah. And these giant bodies would be rolled up and then would form these beds, like river beds, yeah. And this is how did fresh water come into existence on this planet, right? Here's a magical story version of it. These large aquatic beings, these large bodies that would have all these minerals in them and would flip up and onto the surface as the earth is undulating and rolling, these great bodies that become like riverbeds. And as their bodies shift and change and the chemistry changes, it's like the salt water transforms into fresh water and becomes these riverbeds of fresh water, reservoirs of fresh water that became then what are deep aquifers, yeah? again as the earth rolls again, and these great bodies of water became the deep aquifers of fresh water that's constantly being generated. Deep fresh water. Then again, as the earth moves and rolls and shifts, that fresh water moves up, and then we have access to it here in the surface levels. Yeah. So all of this that's happening deep in the inner earth levels. And this was shown to me hours before these big earthquakes hit here on the coast, right? So what is earthquake? Releasing pressure valves in the planet. It's the planet rolling, shifting, undulating, yeah? So if you've ever been in a place where you felt an earthquake, it does have this very undulating feeling. It's not like it's not always shaky shake. The shaky shake is our structures, our rigid structures, our shaky shake. But when we go with it, it's this fluid, flowing, undulating feeling. So that was like a deep memory. If you think of earthquakes, that opening, and there's deep memory surges that come up into our conscious levels, and we remember. Yeah, it's not all, and it is, there's a lot of light codes that are streaming in through galactic levels, through the universal levels, through what we understand as stars and galaxies, right? And there's also this deep inner earth movement. So there's memory that's erupting and releasing up through us, and it can feel very turbulent. It can feel very quaky, shaky, shaking things up, loosening things up, right? So things can drop away. So if you stay in that dynamic movement at time, it's tremendously exciting, and these powers of renewal are formidable indeed. So again, coming back into your Buddha bubble, right? Being centered and find that stable inner center so that you can move, on that fulcrum and not crack, not break, not freak out, right? Okay. Alrighty. So let's take a little pause here. Let you take that in. Yeah. So giving thanks and gratitude to the element of water, whichever body of water you may be living nearby, even if it's just the water coming out of the tap in your apartment, if you're in a city, yeah? Okay. This very fluid and flowing nature of life right now. There's actually this wonderful movie I just saw. It's called Flow. Really highly recommend seeing it. It's an incredible animated film. No dialogue, and the main, I'd say, characters are animals. The artistry of the animation is extraordinary. Again, it's called Flow. A lot of water features very prominently. How water and the currents are carrying these animal characters. It's a very good metaphor, very good reflection of where we are at right now. Yeah. And how we're always carried and lifted to higher ground, yeah, that we may float and move and be carried to different dimensions, different realities, yeah? Yeah, beautiful. So let's just pop down more into our magical human nature, yeah? So this like churning, kind of turbulent water, what can that be? Emotional energy. Strong emotions that have been buried down, and they're being released. Yeah. Old traumatic memories that just seem to be lodged there, that seem to be controlling and directing your life, that are being released, and you're finally free of the burden and the impact of very shocking and traumatic events that may have happened in the past. Yeah. So those can finally unravel, and we can be with the wisdom and the understanding of what we learned in those very dark places. Yeah, and we carry that with us. Let it lift us up into buoyancy. Yeah. And we hand a lot over, yeah, in terms of accountability, yeah, of who and what is accountable for what actions in terms of karmic completion cycles that we're in here, yeah. So there's a lot of setting down of burdens. I'm talking about this a lot. And a rising up with buoyancy. Yeah. And then arriving into the still point. Arriving into the still point. So from that still, when you're in that still point, you have the capacity and ability to be a witness, to be an observer. As you're watching a lot of things getting dissolved and carried away in these large currents. You can watch the turbulence. You can watch and witness and observe the chaos at times. Yeah. From this inner still point in the center of your bubble, your Buddha bubble of your energy field. Breathing in universal energies to help support you. And then sometimes you're more in the current and you're feeling you're being tossed and turned and liberated and loosened and refreshed and renewed and letting go and dissolving obstacles, breaking down resistance and fears. Yeah. Right. So, and you can move very quickly between all these different states from being in that still point of equanimity, observing with compassion, maybe while others that are close to you are going through a lot of turbulence right now, yeah, facing a lot of hard things, yeah. And then there's other times that are extraordinarily beautiful, and this that you can feel this lightness of being just come up through you as you're being carried in this buoyant state, yeah. All of this is happening simultaneously, right? Again, coming back to this sense of we're in deep time, magical time, mystical, mythical time, where it works very, very differently than linear time, yeah? You know, this concept when we look at other lifetimes or past lives or future lives, it's all simultaneous. You know, everything's happening in this now moment, actually. And sometimes we have glimpses of that. A little bit hard to navigate if you're driving or walking across a street. So you got to focus in at times. Yep. So you can focus in and then you can let your focus expand out and really play with those multidimensional movements. Yeah. Very liberating, very exciting, very magical indeed. Very, very magical. Alrighty, so I think I'll pause here for today. I thank you so much for listening. Do remember to subscribe so more of these videos will pop up for you. Links are below for contacting me to work with me one-on-one, and where I pop up on some other platforms. And I will be popping up in different places as I'm moving around a little bit over the next couple of months. So follow me along on my magical mystery tour here. And I'll see you again really soon. Thank you so much.